Who is going to be the Minnesota Vikings' next defensive coordinator? We got 5 candidates for you right now. Welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Lupagus, rocking it solo here tonight. Minnesota Vikings have fired defensive coordinator Ed Donatel, and now the search begins. Who is going to lead this beleaguered Minnesota Vikings defense in 2023? Before we get to that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the vids, and also check the links below. We have some links to some sweet Vikings merch you can order right from our website. Go ahead and do it. Maybe we get a little something from it, maybe we don't. But check it out below. This is some pretty sweet stuff that we like. And also hit up Liftbridge Brewing Company. Boom, right there. All right, so Minnesota Vikings fire Ed Donatel. We all saw this coming. It finally happened. Took a little bit longer than a lot of us expected it to or wanted it to, but he is gone. And now the question remains, who will be replacing him? Let's look at 5 options right now. Let's start with a couple obvious ones here. It's the old man, Vic Fangio, former head coach of the Denver Broncos, 41 years of coaching experience, 20 as an NFL defensive coordinator. This guy's defense consistently been among the most productive in the NFL, scoring defense, total yards allowed, and fewest penalties. So great to hear the fewest penalty part means they're well coached, disciplined group. His defenses, they've ranked also in the league's top 5 in yards allowed in 8 of the last 13 seasons, and was top 5 in fewest points allowed 7 times in that same time frame. So Ed Donatel is gone. You replace him with an old man like Vic Fangio. Hey, why not? I mean, Vic Fangio's defenses have been stellar, like we just said. The problem here is he's pretty much been linked to everybody who has a opening at defensive coordinator. I think his phone will be ringing off the hook. So Vic Fangio, yes, another older guy. He's got some head coaching experience. He's been around forever. Can still help Kevin O'Connell in that regard. But I would be fine with it. I would be absolutely fine with it. But you're gonna have the same defense. It's gonna be that same 3-4 with some 4-3 looks. So if you're wanting a whole change, where if you were on that pedestal shouting for the Vikings to go back to a 4-3 front, you ain't gonna steal it Vic Fangio. So maybe the personnel still doesn't fit well for this guy. But hey, you cannot argue with his pedigree, with his history. He'd be a pretty damn solid choice if KLC did go ahead and hire him. Let's go to another popular name here. Let's go to Brian Flores. He's been coaching the NFL for a long time. He was with New England from 2008 to 2018. He started as a special teams assistant, worked his way to defensive assistant, and then safeties coach, and then linebackers coach. And then he became the head coach of the Miami Dolphins from 2019 to 2021, kind of turned that thing around there. He did have a 24-25 record with not a very great roster. He's now a linebackers coach for the Steelers and a defensive assistant. So, look at Brian Flores, very disciplined. The stories came out after he was let go in Miami. There was a little bit of controversy there with them looking at Sean Payton while Flores was still there. But all his players said, how strict this guy was. He comes from Bill Belichick's school, that line, so he's going to be defense. Very, very strict. Very, very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Just very, very well coached. He's going to be very well coached. His players are going to know what their scheme is, what their responsibilities are. And you saw with Bill Belichick, and you saw with Brian Flores with his defense in Miami. So I don't think anybody would be too upset with Brian Flores as the Vikings defensive coordinator. Again, another guy whose phone is going to be just ringing out the hook. Very popular name. A lot of guys want Brian Flores as their DC, and who wouldn't really? All right, let's go to a couple other ones here. A couple fresh names here. Let's go Gerard Mayo, former first-round pick of the Patriots, 10th overall, played from 2008 to 2015. When this guy played, I mean, he was just known as a fire competitor, great work ethic. He's always staying late, studying films. The guy was kind of destined to be a coach. He finally got that chance 2019 to today. He's the inside linebackers coach for the New England Patriots. And New England Patriots defense, I mean, this is a defense that it's usually they create points, they create turnovers, they know how to score, and those linebackers are a key part of it. So Gerard Mayo, definitely doing his part, and I also believe there's a connection to Kevin O'Connell, as those two should have been teammates in New England. Let's just confirm this here. Yeah. So they would have played together. So they know each other, familiar with each other. KOC, Gerard Mayo, you got a connection there. And it's also that fits the mold of that young coach, up and coming coach, which I think the Vikings want to have this, coaching staff be, full of those kind of guys, these young guys, these coaches who are trying to prove themselves. So Gerard Mayo, definitely an option and an exciting option too. I love when former players come back and coach. You got to have a guy who's done it before. I think that really helps relate to the players. Let's go to another former player. Let's go to Jim Leonhard. He was a former player, defensive back. He played from 2005 to 2014 for the Bills, Ravens, Jets, Broncos, Saints, Bills again, and the Browns. I like that this guy was an undrafted guy. He worked his way into the roster, and then he stuck in the league for a very long time. He was undersized, 5'8", 188 pounds, but he racked up 431 career tackles, 4.5 sacks, 14 interceptions. So he's a guy who can tell players what to do, and he's seen it all. He played in the league forever. No offense is going to confuse him or confound him, and he can actually tell guys what to look for, what to see, because he's been there and he's played that spot. Been very, very productive in a long career for a guy who really probably shouldn't have had one. His coaching experience, he was a defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, named the interim head coach, but he left when he wasn't offered the full job. So he does have a connect with Mike Pettin, who is the Vikings assistant head coach. So if he does stay on after the Ed Donatell firing, there is a connection here with someone on the coaching staff because he played for Mike Pettin for over half his NFL career. So you get a connection to the team. You got this young guy. He's a hot name out there. He's played defensive back for a long time in the NFL. So a lot of good things here. This is Onebar. He just keeps raving about Jim Leonhard. He wants him more than anything in the world. I'd be all for it too. Why not? I do. I love the former player aspect. I think that's huge, and that cannot be overstated how important that can be. So Jim Leonhard, definitely a candidate here and a strong one at that. Let's go to the last guy on this list. Let's go to Sean Desai, the guy who's currently coaching with the Seattle Seahawks. Look what this guy's done with Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant. I mean, he's kind of been working in the secondary. He's technically what is this actually? He's a defensive assistant and associate head coach for the Seahawks, but he's kind of been working with the secondary, a great young secondary group there that's really taking some steps and some strides this year. And Sean Desai, just to get familiar with him, he coached college ball from 2006 to 2012. He did that at Temple, Miami, Florida, Boston College. He had a bunch of different roles. He's been defensive and special teams, assistant, associate coordinator. He's done running backs. He's been director of football operations. He's kind of had his hand in a lot of different roles. He was the Bears defensive quality control coach from 2013 to 2018, Bears safety coach from 2019 to 2020, and the Bears defensive coordinator in 2021. I like that he has that, not just the defensive background, obviously, but also that secondary background, an area with the Vikings that really, really was poor last year. And interesting note, the Vikings actually interviewed Desai last February. So familiar with him. They've brought him in. They've already talked to him. So it's not like they don't know anything about this dude. They've already had him in here and have spoken with him. So definitely somebody to consider, someone to watch. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens here with the Vikings and what they decide to do, who they start bringing in, who they start interviewing. I cannot wait. Very, very excited to get this defense turned around, even get it to a adequate point, an average defense. That's a huge step for this team that was pretty much, when it comes to defense, at the bottom of the barrel of the league, just scraping that bottom. All right, guys, let me know what you think of the guys I just listed, the names I just dropped. And if you have any others, drop them in the comments below. Don't forget #badass to get a chance to win one of those drawings for the wonderful wood art from that place as well. And also, as you're thinking about defensive coordinator, who it might be, remember this: keep your skull in your hole.